Okay, thank you, Dennis. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I am also Vice President of East Central Illinois Bluebird Society and District Coordinator for our area. East Central Bluebird Society is located down in Paris, Illinois. That's a little bit almost to the Indiana border, so it's quite a ways away. And I've been at this for about 45 years, and I'll tell you how I got started. There's an article in the Prairie magazine that comes out on Sundays, and had an article in there about the bluebirds were on the endangered list. And they estimated that between 1920 and 1970 that 90% of the bluebird population deceased. And that was because of insecticides or DDTs and lack of habitat. They are cavity builders, so they need a cavity to build in, like an old rotted out fence post, a dead tree where woodpeckers pecked a hole in there, they'll take that cavity. If you drive around today, you hardly see a fence line any place, let alone a wooden post. So they asked people to put up nesting boxes. So I built one, put it in my yard, and it's a couple years before I got a bluebird. So excited. And in this same article, they talked about having put up more than one box if you can. So I live out by Caterpillar Sales Demonstration area. So I got put up some more boxes on the road going back there. I didn't want to walk back there every night, didn't want to start up a vehicle every night, so there was a J.C. Penney 3-speed bike, flat tires leaning up against the front of the garage, so I paired that up and I started riding back here to check my boxes. Well, that expanded off onto another side road and saw some old guy there on his porch. Took me several times to get enough nerve to stop. He had 5 boxes in his yard. So I asked him if he'd get any bluebirds. He says, no, the gosh darn sparrows just take them all. I says, I'll get the sparrows out for you. He said, I'll pay you. I said, no, I'll just get sparrows for you. He got a bluebird. So he tells the neighbor across the street, put up a bluebird box there. And so now, counting the boxes at Wildlife Prairie Park, I monitor 125 boxes. And this year, it looks like we're going to fledge 639 bluebirds. Jubilee Park. Last year was a down year. It got real cold, and I found several dead in boxes. Some of them will stay the winter. And there in February, about every day we had snow, sleet, everything. Cold weather dropped down below 0 every night. I found several dead in the boxes. So last year, I only fledged out 479, so I've got over 150 increase this year. Talk a little bit about the boxes. Anybody have any questions as I go along? Raise your hand or interrupt. Okay. The boxes should be have a ventilation, have drain holes in the bottom for if you get a driving rain. This happens to be a slotted box. I found this one when I went down to the East Central Illinois Bluebird Society for the first time, and sounded interesting. It has different features than just a round hole. On a round hole, when the bird goes in, mom and pop, they actually shut off the lights inside because they're filling the whole hole. With a slot, you can get light in on each side of you. If there's a predator in there, a sparrow or something, snake, they can get back out. Another fantastic advantage is you got an iPhone, right? Stick your iPhone in there, click. Oh, I got 3 eggs in there tonight. So you don't have to open the box. When the babies get around 12 to 14 days old, you should stop opening the door. This here box in my yard, they were supposed to fledge on a certain date. I go out at 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, 5, they haven't fledged yet. Hour later, I go by. Oh, 2 of them's gone already. An hour later, 2 more gone. Then the last one fledged. So that's advantages I like about it. Like I said, sometimes a sparrow will get in on top of the female, land on her back, pick a hole in her head, kill her, and just build right up on top of her dead carcass. So with a slot, maybe if it's a hole, there's no escape. With a slot, maybe the female can get out either side of the sparrow sitting on the hole. No treated wood for your boxes because it gives off a chemical. They have some PVC boxes out there, and they're 4-inch round, which is too small. That's only gives you 12.5 square inches. There was a study made that each bird should have 5 square inches of surface area. So those round boxes are good for only about 2 or 3 birds, but they have 5. This here is made out of 5x5 fence post. I cut the slot out, put a 2-inch bottom in here. I used to build boxes with, like this one here. This is the way I used to mount them, with a pipe going up the back. And after a while, like in the spring of the year, the wind gets blowing, they have a tendency to start to lean because the weight is here. This here, I put a 2-inch floor in them, and I put a piece of conduit so the weight is directly right in the center. So that's helped. Here's a cedar box, and same thing, it opens up. It's got slots in it. It's got holes for a Van Eert sparrow trap, which I'll get to a little later. The placement of the boxes are best out in rural areas versus in the heart of a city. But big areas, it's got on the outskirts of the town, like Weaver Ridge or something like that. They like short grass. They're insect eaters, fruit eaters like mulberries and blackberries and things like that. Golf course, cemetery. I've got boxes in some cemeteries. So, and my trail, speaking of cemeteries, my trail runs 2 miles north of Dunlap. There's a cemetery out there. Got a plot out there myself. And then all the way out to 2 miles south of Hannah City. And plus side roads down around where I live. And like I said, Jubilee Park, Wildlife Park, I help with there. Now, raccoons, believe it or not, can climb up 1/2-inch conduit. I've had some get up even with grease on them. Whoever the guy that developed this, he said you can polish it with steel wool and wax it. Well, I was having to go in there and clean the grease off every spring. So I thought, well, I'll try this polish, and raccoon got right up and got the baby. So I went back to grease. Now, raccoons, you need to have a swivel like this. Can be a stovepipe. And so when the raccoon comes up, they put one paw here. When they bring the other paw, it hopefully make them slide off. But I have lost 2 boxes of birds this year with this one here. I've seen YouTube videos where one raccoon will stand on its hind feet, hold it, and another raccoon will climb up its back, reach in a bird feeder, empty all the bird seed out, then go down, and both of them go down and eat the bird seed. So I don't know any way of stopping that. Right now I'm talking about ground attacks. Ants can crawl up, You can put a circle of grease around it. You can put some ant dust on the ground to keep the ants from getting up there, so they can climb right up the pipe and into the box and into the nest. Of course, snakes. I'm on couple Facebook Bluebird sites, and there's a gal I call the Snake Lady. She lives down in Mississippi someplace, and she's got this theory that you need to have a stovepipe that's 8 inches in diameter, 5 foot long. Then she mixes some Vaseline and lithium grease together in a bottle. She puts 2 circles around it, one down low and one up high. And if the bottom one's messed up, she knows a snake tried to get up. And if the second one's messed up, then she knows the snake got by the upper one. Okay, now air predators, they're harder yet to deal with because they fly in. There's no real way to protect them. This is a sparrow spooker, and once the bluebird gets an egg or 2 in there, you can mount this on the box, and it glistens, but they're driven to go in, and it works real well. Yes.
Do you know if that works for house wrens as well?
Nope. No, I haven't had any luck with it anyway. Wrens.
House wrens attack our bluebird.
Yes, I've had. Yes, they'll go in there and they'll pierce the eggs, throw them out on the ground, and even carry their material out. Just work all day, removing all the nest, and then they start bringing their sticks in. And
So the only other thing I've done about that is put other nest boxes up that bluebirds don't want, but
all right,
house wrens would use, and I just hope they don't.
the biggest thing to help with wrens, get them away from the woods. Don't put any boxes near the woods and brushy areas, because that's their habitat. Now, there's a website, Sialis, SIALIS.org. It's a tremendous website, and they talk about once you get a bluebird gets an egg or 2 in there, to put a guard like this here and on the side. It has to be out like 2 3/4 inches is the recommendation. That hides the hole, but I've had limited success with that. Buffalo gnats or black flies. I don't know if you've ever experienced having them around get around your. The female has to have blood to lay eggs. Once the babies get about 5 days old, when they breathe, they give off carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide draws these buffalo gnats to there, and they go in and suck the blood from the babies and kill them. One of the gals down at our Bluebird Society, she's got a mixture of eucalyptus oil, vanilla oil, and citronella oil. Then she got a carrier in there for them. Spray it around your openings, your vents, and that really works. It stops that smell of the carbon dioxide, covers that up so that buffalo gnats can't smell it. Wasp, they like to get in there and build on the roof, and you take a bar of ivory soap, kind of wet it you can and get it a little softer. You just rub that on the roof, kind of around the sides, maybe down like this, and then they can't attach their nest to that. the bluebird will not build in there. Now, I need to talk a little bit about sparrows. I wouldn't have 125 boxes if it wasn't for this Van Oort sparrow trap that I've got mounted in this box right now. You don't put it on until the sparrow, or until the sparrow starts to build. Now, there's a lady that I know that was over at the Wildlife Park. She was complaining she had the box at home. She got sparrows in it. I said, I'll get you a trap. Got her trap. Next year, she called me. I'm just madder than hops. She says, Herb, you said that was a sparrow trap. I said, well, did you have a sparrow wanting to build in there? She says, no, but you said it was a sparrow trap. She caught a bluebird. So it doesn't care whether it's a bluebird or a wren or whatever. It'll trap it. It's a live trap. You're going to hear a little bang. And it slams the door behind and the sparrow's in there. What I do is when the sparrow starts, clean out the nest, set the trap, pick up just a few strands of the grass or weeds and whatever they're building with, and you're hanging out the opening. That really upsets the male sparrow who's been in my box. You know, I'm the tough guy. He goes in there and trap. At that point, take a netted laundry bag, put it up over it, draw a string, and cinch it shut, open the door, and the sparrow comes out into that bag, and just immediately he's coming back. And I don't know how he does it that quick, but anyway, that's why you got it cinched up here on the back. If you're not willing to eliminate the sparrow, then don't put up a box. House sparrows are non-native to the United States, so they're okay to kill. Now, don't get this confused with song sparrows, chipping sparrows, etc. They build in bushes and shrubs and whatever have you. So it's just that.
Could you show what the trap looks like inside here?
Sure. Here's what it looks like. It's got on the bail, it's got a little hook there. You come down, you catch it on the bail there, and it's spring loaded. It mounts with a couple screws in here. When you buy the trap, it's called a Van Oort, V-A-N-E-R-T. And it comes with, I believe, 4 screws. And so you don't need one for every box you got. And then he goes in, he clicks and snaps open. So
what is snapping is that snapping to shut the hole. So
yes, whether it's a hole or a slot.
I just couldn't see that.
Okay, sorry. After the meeting, anybody wants? And here's the bail. This is spring loaded.
What was the name of that again?
Van Oort, V-A-N-E-R-T. All right. Of course, I suppose all of you know that there's 3 bluebirds in the United States, and one of them's not blue jays. You got your Eastern Bluebird. That's what we have here. It goes from the East Coast to the Rocky Mountains. Rocky Mountains, there they pick up the mountain bluebird. And after the mountain bluebird is the Western Bluebird. Here's something I come up with to hold this. This connector down here, I cut them in half, and you can slide that down, then slip your guard on top of that. Somebody had a theory that this blue attracts bluebirds. So I've got a roll of tape here if anybody wants any for, like, I don't know, I got mixed emotions whether I don't have too much of a problem because about all the boxes I have out have bluebirds. But anyway, the theory behind this was it blows in the wind and a bluebird flies over there and sees the ribbon. Oh, sees the blue and it's a nest box. So if anybody wants some of that, it's there. I guess I should have talked about a bluebird nest. They build a cup-shaped nest out of grass that's woven or pine needles or a mixture of. And here's a real live nest that it was the last nest of the season, had infertile eggs in it. Sure. Bluebirds will nest 1 to 3 times a year. This year I had, I know for sure, 1 box that had four nestings, and I had 2 more that I'm pretty sure, but I can't prove it because the one that I can prove was at my house. The other 2, I'm pretty sure it was 4 nestings. So that's really rare. They usually lay, like in the spring of the year, they'll lay 5 eggs. And then occasionally a 4 in the spring. Later in the summer, the last nesting will be 3 to 5. Set a record this year. I had 12 boxes that had 6 eggs. Or my previous record was 6 boxes with 6 eggs. So that's pretty good. I thought. Bluebirds will occasionally lay white eggs. The same lady that had to put the trap on just because it was a sparrow trap, she calls me up. She says, "Herb, will bluebirds lay white eggs?" I says, "Yes." I can hear this sadness in her voice. I said, "What's the matter?" She says, "Well, I had a box that had white eggs." "Well, that's okay." "Well," she says, "I threw them against the tree." So, if she was going to call me, just wait 2 minutes before you break your eggs. Not every egg is fertile. Sometimes the whole nest will be infertile. Sometimes, like I had a box that had only 1 egg out of the whole batch hatched. I've came up with this, and now the Facebook group is starting to pick it up. You can candle your eggs right at the spot if you have. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but and you see it. Yep. Okay. See the? Yeah, I just didn't know how close he wanted me.
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So when you can see a light inside, then that means that egg is no good. It wasn't fertilized. Maybe something happened to the parent or something.
What determines, is it random whether an egg is fertile or not?
Yes. Or a parent or something. I remember years back I had a box had 5 eggs, all 5 infertile. Next, at that point I leave the nest, destroy the eggs. Next 5 eggs, go 2 weeks, and they're infertile. Third nest, all of them hatch. So whether she found a new husband or what, I don't know. They will lay an egg a day till they get their clutch. And at that point, they start setting. It takes 13 to 14 days. Usually in the colder part of the spring, it takes the full 14. When the summer, it starts getting hot, they go 13 to 14 days, they hatch. So let's say this is what, Wednesday? So you're out checking your boxes on Wednesday. You check the box, it's got 2 eggs. You check your box next Wednesday, it's got 5 eggs. So you know they laid an egg Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So 2 weeks from Saturday, they're going to hatch. You need to write this down so you can determine whether you got infertile eggs or not. Then 17 to 21 days after that, they'll fledge. And once they fledge, You clean out the box. Don't just drop it down on the ground below the box because that draws your predators in. Carry it away someplace. Take it back to the house, put it in the garbage, whatever. Awful quiet. Anybody got any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, so the nestlings, I don't think they all fly, but they fledge. So the fledglings, where do they go? What's the best ground cover? Are there any plantings that would assist?
All right. If they stayed in the proper amount of time, they should be able to fly. Sometimes something will spook them, or somebody gets a wild idea to take off sooner. They just plop out on the ground and hop around. So they didn't stay in it long enough. That's a good point. I should have mentioned. All right, you don't want to face your house due west because setting sun shines in and heats up inside. Whenever a cold front comes through, it always comes out of the northwest. So you don't want just young babies in there with that cold air blowing on them. So Indiana Bluebird Society, they say point them northeast. What I do is look around, find a tree that's 75 feet, 100 feet away, and kind of point the box in that direction so that when they fledge, they can make their first flight to that tree. Yeah.
So we do have a box that's had successful rounds of nesting multiple times. And I'm just curious, I think we have 3 in the box down here. And we don't know if it's the same pair having 3 broods, or if maybe other birds are coming in. Do you have any experience like knowing whether you've got the same birds nesting over and over?
All right.
Or if it's different birds?
My pair at home, I feed mealworms to, and I train them to come for the mealworms. I whistle, and in they come. So I don't have to retrain anybody, so they take it. Same box. All right. White eggs is a good example. I'll have white eggs in the same box. I mean, in that box all 3 times or 2 times that year. So I know they haven't left to go someplace else. Wrens, house wrens, we talked about them a little bit. The male will put sticks in them in the box, several sticks, and he'll do that to several boxes. Then he brings the missus by to see which box she likes. I had 2 boxes this year that they were fairly close to other Bluebird boxes, and they built in about a couple, 3 inches of sticks and then stopped. And a Bluebird built a haphazard nest in on top of these sticks that's all pointed this way. Not very thick grass. So I waited till the babies hatched and got about 5 to 7 days old. I go with a spatula and I take them out, the nest and all, and I set it in a bucket. Neighbors got pine trees, a lot of pine needles. I form a nest as best as I can. Pick the babies up one at a time, put them in the nest. Success, both of them. So you need to get involved.
How about cowbirds and covered eggs? Have that advice on them?
I've only had maybe 5 to 7 cowbird eggs in my life. Technically, it's illegal to remove them, but sometimes when you're looking at them, they're like kind of slick. You know what? Huh?
What do they look like? How do you recognize?
They're kind of a speckled egg. Brownish, no, about the same size, yeah. Other birds that will use the boxes are course, we've talked about wrens and sparrows, chickadees, black-cape chickadees. And I'm kind of partial to them. And when that happens, I have some blocks of wood with 1.1/8 hole, and I will go and put that over the slot or over the hole. And then that will keep the sparrows out, the bluebirds out. They have the most beautiful nest there is, made out of moss. And then they line it with rabbit fur or something, and just beautiful. And they only build once, so I let them build and I take the restrictor off. So say you had a sparrow trap on, you got a doctor's appointment, you got a bluebird and a sparrow both fighting for the house, you want your trap on. 1.25 hole, a sparrow can go through, but the bluebird can't. They need 1.5 inches. So that restricts that, so you can get that sparrow while you're going. But I normally don't use it other than I absolutely have to. I just keep an eye on it. I have some of these extra blocks that I made through the winter, a lot of scrap woods. If anybody wants any, let me know. Have them. You can have any of this blue tape you want, stretch out 6, 8, 10 feet. I don't care.
Supposed to monitor a lot more than I do. What's the best way to remember, or is there some way I can keep track of what I'm supposed to do for monitoring?
Well, I get to my boxes once a week. I try to. Now, something happened to me this spring, and I was trimming a limb on a tree. I went up on a step ladder on uneven ground, had a pole saw, and I'm trying to wiggle myself up through there to cut it off. Ladder went left, I went down on the ground, broke a rib, skinned my leg all up, and nobody knows where all my houses are. So if anybody, don't have to give me an answer now, wants to become a monitor to, like someday, you know, I'm getting old here, take over Jubilee Park or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Think about it. Dennis, anything I forgot?
You've been covering a lot of good information here. The only thing is that maybe when a person in the audience speaks a question, maybe repeat it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Because the microphone doesn't carry that far.
A good point. Show me sooner.
You want to bring your way over there, let people look at
Sure.
that? Just tell them what you got there.
That's good.
Oh, okay. These are bluebird pictures that I took at my house. This box is only one like that is made out of tree slabs. So you can see there's bark on it. They just love it. My son bought me a tent chair, and I could set up a tripod like you got there, and my telephoto lens. And I would get in there and I'd whistle, and the wife would put worms in the bowl. And
Maybe you can describe where you get the new one.
you can order them online. You can buy grubcrow.com. They're over in Ohio. Rainbow worms out of California. Amazon, I was shocked. You can get mealworms Amazon. And it turns out they're the same company that supplied them Rainbow out of California for $10 cheaper. So,
Where you just go down to your pet store or your
pardon me?
pet stores in town sometimes.
Yeah.
The stores also sell.
Yeah, but they're
Expensive.
pretty expensive. You can only buy 50 or 100 at a time. I buy 3,000, and I put them in a big Tupperware container, and I got an extra refrigerator downstairs. You put them in there, and you can feed them. There's some bedding you buy. You can feed them apple peels, carrot peelings, and potato slices. for a few days, and then you put them back in the refrigerator, because if you don't, they will turn to beetles. So then you have them in there for several days, and then get them back out. You feed them again for a couple days, and then back in the refrigerator to keep them from developing.
How about dry mealworms?
I've tried, and I don't have any luck. He asked about dried mealworms. I've tried. I didn't have very good luck. I know people do it. I make like if this center picture, it's got a picture of some homemade Bluebird food in there. And I will put some dried mealworms in that when I make it, because it's got lard and peanut butter and oatmeal and flour and some sunflower chips or hearts. And I'll put in some mealworms, and that all that lard and peanut butter melted together will make those dried mealworms moist. So there's some recipe if you people are bird feeders. Cardinals love it. Woodpeckers, nuthatches, chickadees, everybody loves that. Any more questions? Anybody from the audience or Zoom?
Anybody from the Zoom? Good. A person from the Zoom, actually, here's the question. We are considering adding some Bluebird boxes at our local park. We have a few fields with walking paths with which we plan to install the boxes in. Is it a bad idea to install the boxes near an area with foot traffic?
I would recommend, I don't see a problem as long as you screw them shut instead of having a nail. Like this box has got a nail to open it. Then prying eyes will get in there if they're getting ready to fledge. That's
Foot
bad.
traffic. That's areas with foot traffic.
Yes. You don't want kids getting in the boxes.
Right. You want it, screwed shut so that normally people wouldn't have a screwdriver in their pocket to open them up. But if you need to have some mowed areas because they're short. They like short grass to hunt for insects. Power lines to set on trees so they can look down and find these insects. All right, he asked, do you mount a box on a metal pole versus a tree? You definitely do not want to mount a box on a tree because a raccoon can climb right up the tree, reach in and pull all the babies out.
Is there any problem with the Bluebird houses being used by bats?
I've been at it 45 years. I've never found one in there.
Okay.
Now, above poles, do you recommend half-inch conduit or 3/4 inch, or do you like galvanized pipe better?
Well, this is what I'm using right here. 1/2 inch.
Okay.
It's got
That's plenty sturdy for your purpose.
Yep. It's got what I do. I've got there's 1/2 inch rebar here.
Okay.
You loosen this screw. It's about 4 foot long. You drive about half of it in the ground, and make sure it's kind of straight because that's what's going to set your pole. And then you slide this on and tighten this screw down. You have to replace the short screw with a long screw. Make sure you tighten your screw down in the valley, not on the high point. And then you bring your box over, set it down on there, and tighten that screw down.
Simple. That's great. And you can just drive the rebar with a sledgehammer.
Right. If you ever want to remove the rebar, you can pour some water around it and start making a circular motion, and then it makes the whole conic shape. Or I carry a pair of pipe wrench in my truck, and I put it on there and I just wiggle it back and forth like this and pull and it comes out. I have had a little problems with at the parks, mowers hitting the rebar and bending them, but they're starting to learn.
We have one more question here. If one isn't able to check and maintain the boxes on a weekly basis, what do you expect the success rate to be? Will they almost always end up with a non-desired bird in the box?
We'll bring it over here.
Depends on the location of where the box is at. If like Jubilee Park, most of Wildlife Prairie Park don't have any sparrows. So I never use any of these guards or sparrow spookers.
You said sometimes they stay and they migrate?
Some of them will stay. The question is, do they migrate? Some of them will stay all winter, and some will go on down south to Tennessee, Kentucky, and then come back up in the spring. Mainly the males will stay. Keep an eye. They say keep an eye on the box.
They try to keep the same box year after year.
Well,
Do they mate for life? How long do they-
no, they do not mate for life. The question was, do they mate for life? No. I've had a neighbor saw hawk come by and catch my female off of the fence, and my wife and I both agreed that she was the ugliest female we've ever seen. Anyway, it wasn't 5-6 days. He was there with a new female.
Wow.
And had one last year that I'm still baffled about. The pair at my house, he something happened to him. He disappeared. She had eggs, so they hatched, and I bought a lot of mealworms, and I really helped her. I even cut mealworms up till the babies were able to take the full mealworm. And so, because she was feeding them by herself. And my gosh, they fledged, and a while later she builds a new nest, and she lays new eggs. My gosh, how can these be fertile? These don't have a male. And my gosh, they all hatched. Same thing, I'm feeding the mealworms. They fledge. She builds her third nest. And they all hatch. So neighbor across the street had a pair, so the only thing I can think of, they kind of hooked up a little bit. They are territorial. I forgot to mention that. The boxes should be 100 yards apart, 300 feet, the length of a football field, a city block, something like that apart, because they become territorial. But once the last nesting's done, they're buddies. Everybody talks about the summer.
We almost always get bluebirds on this Christmas bird count. And at home, it could be 0 degrees, 10 below, and we have a heated water feature. And that's when you see the bluebirds in the middle of winter. If you have liquid water out, they will come in. No other water source generally. And that and its suet.
Oh, anybody got one other thing here? Has anybody got bluebird houses currently? Okay. Because I've got a sheet here, and I would contact you. I turned my count in along with any other neighboring counties and Peoria County. Peoria County right now, last few years, has been running #1 in the state. This Solaris website is, somebody tried this. You put monofilament line around the opening and about 1 inch away, and they say a sparrow, when he comes in, they come in from the side and they hit their wings on this and keeps them away. Or a bluebird, they come straight in. So
Is that also why some houses have that mesh?
okay, that's
Tube of mesh?
all right.
Is it tube?
There's She asked about a wire mesh that sticks out from the front. That's a predator guard, like maybe a crow or a blue jay or somebody could stop them. When I first started, I saw that and I thought that would stop a raccoon. It will not. It's 5.5. You have to get out to 8.5, 9-inch extension, then that will stop them. Over at Wildlife Prairie Park, I talked to the animal keepers, and they have a cage that had some raccoons in. I talked to them about running a test, put it on a fence. They were on the website, they were talking that some of them you'll see having, like on a hole, they'll put another piece of 3/4 inch on there, so it's 1.5 inches. They thought that was better than the 5.5 inch. Just didn't see that. Anyway, we put, I built 2 test boxes. They put some food inside. We mounted it on the fence. Next morning, I'll go over there, and they had reached all the way to the bottom, went through the 5.5 plus, got down to the floor. So it didn't hit down the floor. It's not even a nest. A nest would have been up higher. So you can see that they can reach in there. So if you're going to put a wire snout on it, make sure it's 8, 9.
I think an 8-inch tube would deter the bluebirds, wouldn't it?
Well, we had over at Wildlife Park, we had a raccoon get in a box. Our last box over there was in an area that we saw evidence of a raccoon being there, plus it already got one, and put that on there. They all fledged. So, they're driven. Once they get eggs young in there, they're driven. So it's kind of, and when I put these spookers on, I try not to put them on a real windy spring day because they're just a sailing.
Give you a big hand. All right, Herb, we thank you very much for coming to join us. Lots of Bluebird questions here tonight.